Hello friends, wishing you a good day. We are pleased to bring you another insightful session from Whitepaper Actuaries. We will be doing it differently this time. Our seasoned actuary Hemanshu have also joined us for this discussion. The session will be our first interactive talk show. Hemanshu, are you excited?
Yes, Nilesh, I'm very excited and looking forward for this discussion.
Great. So let us start. Our topic today is gains and losses, and I know you are very passionate about it in your work. So, can you share your initial thoughts about this topic?
Sure. I've been supporting clients on actuarial valuations for more than 15 years now and have seen different scenarios. Clients and their auditors ask us different questions about our work when we submit it to them. One of the actuarial techniques that have immensely helped me in all my work is this analysis of gains and losses. I mean, if I have to give an explanation to client about uh, the movement of results, gains and losses forms about 60 to 70% of my explanation. Gains and losses not only help me as a professional to support my clients, but also the client themselves as they get much more valuable information that they can share ahead with other stakeholders.
That's great. We know actuarial valuation plays an important role for financial management of employee benefit schemes. Before we deep dive into this topic, would you like to give a bit of background about actuarial valuations and reasons about why they are generated?
Sure. We know actuarial valuations rely on assumptions about the future. For employee benefits, key assumptions are like employee turnover, salary growth rate, retirement age, and other economic factors like discount rates. These assumptions, when they are set for a particular valuation, they are mostly applied to group level consistently. What I mean is that if we are assuming 8% salary increase, then that 8% salary increase is applied for everyone. Same way, attrition rates are also applied at a group level. From one valuation to another, when we see the actual progress in the data or changes in the data, we see that for individuals, these assumptions may not be applicable as we expected. For examples, employees may terminate earlier than we expected, or their salary increments could be different from what we have assumed. Similarly, other economic assumptions may also change unpredictably. This creates gains and losses in financials that can be attributed to different factors impacting the individual liability as well as the group liability. Analysis of this gains and losses help us understand the key drivers for changes. To give you an example, if we assume employees on average will earn 8% annual increase in one of our valuations, and then we move forward to the next valuation, some employees, as per the data, may have an actual increase which is higher than what we assumed, while others may have a lower increase. These individual deviations, when aggregated, may create a significant impact on the financials of the scheme. And these expected versus actual differences that we are comparing is gains and losses that we study in our work.
Wonderful explanation. So we understand that difference from what we expected will happen and what actually happens will create deviation in my financial results. But is this the only type of gains and losses, or there are any other type of contributors as well?
Sure, that's a great question. Actually, there are other forms of gains and losses as well. One of the key contributor for the gains and losses is when organizations themselves decide to change assumptions between two valuation periods. So, for example, we assumed in one valuation, let's say, a future salary growth rate of 8% per annum, and then in the next valuation, it is changed to 7.5% per annum. Now, this change in assumption will create a gain and loss because it will impact the liability. And we broadly categorize these into two buckets. The first is changes because of demographic assumptions. These are the assumptions which are related to employee behavior, for example, attrition rates, mortality rates, retirement age, and how they consume the leaves. These assumptions typically impact the timing of future payments from the scheme. The other set of assumptions is financial assumptions. These include salary growth rates, discount rate, inflation, and schemes where it is applicable, even like pension increases. Most of these assumptions, except discount rate, are those which impact the amount of or quantum of payment that the scheme have to make. And then we have already discussed previously that there are gains and losses that are generated due to differences in the actual versus assumed trend in the data, which we call as experience gains and losses. So broadly, these three categories together forms the overall gains and losses for the scheme.
Excellent. You made it simplified for our audience to understand. I propose so that we devote enough time to this topic. In our discussion today, we focus on the first type of the gains and losses, which is related to those arising due to assumption changes, and we book separate time to discuss about the experience gains and losses.
Sure, sounds like a good plan.
All right then. For our audience, let me share that there are several assumptions used in valuations. Key assumptions are discount rate, which is the rate we use to find present value of future payments. Salary rate, at what rate salary we use in benefit formulae will change in future for employees. Attrition, rate of the pupil leaving the organization. The benefit may be paid or lapse upon the attrition. Retirement age and mortality rate. Anything you want to add, Himanshu?
No, I think you covered it all. I just wanted to add that not all assumptions have same impact on valuations. Liabilities are quite sensitive towards assumptions. Um, some assumptions like discount rate, salary rate, even for a small changes in these assumptions can have a large impact on liabilities. Another aspect is that not all the assumptions have a direct relationship with liability, which means that for some assumptions, let's say discount rate, when we increase them, it actually causes the liability to decrease. While some other assumption like salary rate, when it is increased, it is likely to increase the liability. Then we have some assumptions where this relationship between liability and assumption is not very direct, and the liability can move either ways for a increase in such assumption. One of the example is attrition rate, where we sometimes see when we increase the attrition rate, it actually causes the liability to increase, while on other cases it may cause the liability to decrease.
It's quite complex. I guess that is why we need experienced actuaries to decode the workings.
Right.
Can you elaborate more for us about these challenges associated with assumption changes in actuarial valuation? How should companies look to understand them and include in their decision making?
Sure. Firstly, we need to understand that these assumptions influence each other in complex way. Let me share an example. Let us say there is a company A which expects its employee to have an attrition at a rate of 20% per annum. And then we have a second company, let's say it company B, which expects only 10% attrition. Now it is intuitive to believe that company B expects its employees to stay longer compared to company A. Now, when let's say we change discount rate for both these organizations gratuity benefit valuation, so what we will see is that a change in discount rate by let's say 50 basis points will have much more impact on company with 10% attrition compared to company with 20% attrition. This is because company B, we are expecting people to stay longer, and hence the discounting period will increase and the present value will be impacted more when we change the discount rate. The second point to note is that when we are changing multiple assumptions together, it may be possible that they actually offset or amplify each other's impact. Like we just discussed, if we reduce attrition rate from 20% to 10%, then the discount rate impact is much more for a lower attrition rate. Similarly, let's say we are changing discount rate and salary rate together. We saw that discount rate increase usually decreases the liability while salary rate increases the liability. So it may be possible if we change both of them together with same percentage, the net impact on liability is very negligible.
Thank you, Himanshu, for this insightful discussion. I am delighted to share at Whitepaper Actuaries we understand this concept from core. Our attempt is always to share with our clients and their auditors useful information to make better decisions. Our report include a dedicated section that breaks down gains and losses in detail. What we discussed today, a clear impact analysis of each assumption changes on liability results is part of our report. Client would get a clear actionable insights to make informed decisions. They also benefit with greater information about actual valuation result that help communicate and manage wider organizational stakeholders. Auditors also could see detailed working that support their workings. Our expertise help organizations minimize uncertainty and optimize their employee benefit strategies. Understanding actual gains and losses is essential for financial stability and strategic planning. Let us help you navigate these complexities. If you have any questions, feel free to write us at actuaries@whitepaperllp.com.
Thank you.